Look up on a clear day and you'll see it. A plane carving a bright white line across a perfect blue sky. The trail stretching behind it like someone dragged a chalk across a blackboard. And then, an hour later, another plane passes almost directly overhead. Same altitude, same direction, same type of aircraft, and nothing. No trail, not even a wisp, just a silver shape moving silently through clean air, leaving no mark at all. You've probably noticed this your entire life and never had a satisfying answer. The explanation involves invisible rivers of air, ice crystals thinner than a human hair, and a phenomenon so sensitive that a difference of just 1% humidity can determine whether a plane rights across the sky or disappears without a trace. After this, you'll never look at a contrail the same way again. First, let's establish what that white trail actually is, because most people have a vague idea, something about exhaust, something about cold air, but the real answer is more interesting than that. Jet engines burn fuel by mixing it with massive amounts of air and igniting it. That combustion produces two primary byproducts, carbon dioxide and water vapor. Yes, water. Burning 1 kilogram of jet fuel produces approximately 1.24 kilograms of water vapor expelled through the engine exhaust at extremely high temperature. Now that hot, moist exhaust hits the surrounding atmosphere at cruise altitude, where temperatures typically sit between -40 and -60 degrees Celsius. And when water vapor hits air that cold, it doesn't gradually cool down. It flash freezes instantly into microscopic ice crystals, each one hundreds of times smaller than a human hair, billions of them per second, streaming behind the aircraft. That white line you see isn't smoke. It isn't pollution in any visible form. It is a cloud, a man-made cloud, manufactured in real time by the thermodynamics of combustion meeting the cold upper atmosphere. But here's the interesting part. That explanation only tells you why contrails form at all. It doesn't tell you why they sometimes don't. And that's where the real story lives. The key is something called relative humidity, specifically the humidity at cruise altitude. And this is where most people's intuition completely breaks down. We think of humidity as a ground-level phenomenon, humid days in summer, dry days in winter, but the upper atmosphere has its own humidity profile that changes constantly, invisibly, sometimes within kilometers. When the air at altitude is dry, below a threshold called the ice saturation point, the ice crystals that form in the engine exhaust evaporate almost instantly. The atmosphere absorbs them before they can accumulate into a visible trail. The plane passes through and leaves nothing behind. This is where it gets crazy. The same aircraft on the same route on consecutive days can leave completely different trails depending entirely on the invisible moisture content of the air it's flying through. Pilots don't control this. Airlines don't control this. The aircraft are identical. The engines are burning the same fuel at the same rate. The only variable is the atmosphere itself, and the atmosphere changes constantly at every altitude in ways that ground observers have no way of seeing directly. So when you look up and see one plane trailing white and another leaving nothing, you're not seeing different aircraft or different engines. You're seeing a real-time readout of upper atmospheric humidity written in ice crystals across the sky. Now here's something most people never realize. Contrail behavior after formation tells you something about the weather coming your way. Short-lived contrails, the ones that vanish within seconds, indicate dry air at altitude, which typically means stable, clear conditions. Persistent contrails that spread and linger for hours indicate high humidity aloft, which often precedes an approaching weather system. Contrails have a measurable effect on surface temperatures. Studies conducted after the September 11th attacks, when all commercial flights over the United States were grounded for 3 days, gave scientists an unprecedented window to measure the atmosphere without contrails. What they found was that the daily temperature range across the U.S. increased by nearly 1 degree Celsius during those 3 days compared to the same period in previous years. Contrails, it turns out, trap outgoing heat at night while reflecting incoming sunlight during the day. At current global air traffic volumes, this effect is real, measurable, and still being studied. So the next time you tilt your head back and watch a jet pull a white line across a blue sky, while another passes silently overhead, leaving nothing, you're watching atmospheric physics written in real time.
You're seeing humidity made visible. You're watching combustion turn into cloud. And if that trail lingers and spreads for hours, now here's something even more interesting. If jet exhaust can create clouds, what happens when those same engines ingest a cloud? What goes on inside a jet engine during extreme weather is far stranger than anything you'd expect.